Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, Alexis. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Very, very, very good. Good to see you again. Well, hear
Yes.
you again.
Same to you.
And I know we are now at the start of August, and by the time we blink, would be in December.
Hmm.
So, if I were to ask, I know usually we ask how was your week, but if I were to ask, like, say this is a well-being check-in, how are you right now in this moment? How well is your being in this moment?
For me,
Yeah, yes, you could respond. Anyone could respond.
oh, my well-being or my being is very good. Head on straight, mentally, physically, emotionally, very happy.
Okay, okay. Very, very good to note. And is it something that you are able to maintain, or is it a work in progress?
It's definitely a work in progress. I have my ups and downs all the time,
Mhm.
especially with me suffering from PTSD and all this other stuff. But it's definitely a work in progress. But every day that I do get to wake up and say I'm happy or I'm content, it's just always a win for me.
Okay, good to know. Lisa, are you there? All right, Lisa got bumped off. Kim, are you there? All right. Well, Catherine, you are here. So if I were to
Mhm.
ask, how well is your being in this moment? What would you say?
I would say my being is, I like where I am right now.
Okay.
I know there is some more things that I can shed, but I know that it is a work in progress.
Okay.
And this afternoon in particular, I feel at peace.
Okay.
How did I do yesterday? This afternoon in particular, I feel at peace. So
And
I
do
know
you,
it is.
yes.
Yeah, continue.
No, no, you go ahead.
No, it is well.
Okay. And have you all recognized how far you have come and the improvement you have made?
Yes, yes. Because the old me would be really down in myself, down on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, the voice that is always able. There are some voices that think that they always just there. They keep you company. They would like to keep you company all the time, and they're always available to say, it was your fault. You should do better. Your thing, it was your fault. No, so I've learned over the years and over this last year, these last few months in particular, to quell those little voices. So when you feel the familiar feeling coming up and you know it, to address it one time and to quell that little voice that is always willing to set you back
Okay.
where you don't really want to be. And I even yesterday I had a cough, and even in the cough itself, I remember saying, but everything that I want is on my breath.
Mm-hmm.
every single thing I want is on my breath, and I do not want to cough. And I took the time to focus on my breath. And there went the cough. And when it came back today in the same situation, I did the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, mm-hmm,
Yes.
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 So,
Yes. All right. I know a lot of people came in a little late. And welcome to tonight's session. But I was asking a question, seeing that we are in the beginning of August and we are almost kind of to the end of the year. I'm just asking everyone, well-being check-in. How well is your being today, right now, in this moment? Yes, Kim, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes. Apologies. My hair was wet the first time and it's still wet, so
Okay,
phone a little slip. Yes. I am well in my being. I can say yes.
okay,
I am, yeah, I am well. I guess the
okay,
proof to that is that I'm so busy and I'm not feeling overwhelmed.
okay,
So, yeah, I'm well.
okay. Good, 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 good. Mr. SGL, are you there?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good
I
evening.
am doing well. A lot on my plate, but it's feeling good.
Okay,
So can't complain. So I'm good. I feel blessed.
all right. And have you recognized how far you have come?
Overall, definitely. Uh, like people may not know about the people who are in my circle may not know about this work we are doing by name, but
Okay.
they know it by the references and how sometimes I speak about my own Christian belief and
Mm-hmm.
how through this teaching in this room it becomes more valuable, more you can almost touch it, right? It's the practical aspect of this that I really like because you get to practice it, and and this lesson gets to be tested almost every day,
Yeah.
and how you respond to situation that comes up. So I'm really enjoying it, and definitely there's been a great improvement since I started with you all.
Okay. All right. Noted. Nikki, are you there? All right. So I guess Nikki is not
Yes,
close.
I'm here. Good night, everyone.
Good evening. And how well is your being right now in this moment?
I would say that I am well. I am much better than I was probably some months ago, but some weeks ago. So I'm well. I am handling situations much better. I can say that I'm more at peace with regards to handling day-to-day operations, especially with the children now that they're home for summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I am well.
Okay.
Thanks for
Anas-
asking.
no problem at all. Anastasia, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good evening. And how well is your being right
So my
now?
being is right now. My being is very well. My being is full of peace and yes, waiting with great anticipation to see more growth in myself.
Okay. And Nalini, are you there?
Hi, good night.
Hello. And how well is your
Hello.
being?
Um, it's getting there. It's getting there with a lot of work. A
Okay.
lot of work. And I just realized we are at the beginning of August,
Yes, we are.
episode 10. um, things taking some time to really look at a lot of situations and try and redirect from where I was before. So
Okay. But have you also recognized how far you've come?
I have, I have because look at things as where I was and where I am now
Mm-hmm.
in terms of my reactions, in terms of the things I appreciate more. So, it's given me a bigger insight of there is more to life than what we think it is,
Yeah.
by simply not looking back at the bad things or the things we would not want to have happen take place.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. Would anyone else like to share before we move on in terms of how well is your being at this point in this present moment? All right. So, for tonight's topic, we will be discussing playing small, the fear of being seen. But I have a question because, throughout life, sometimes we always try to hide or try to sit to the back of the class instead of sitting in front. But why do you think that is? Why do we shrink from the very space we were born to fill?
Afraid of rejection.
Okay, certainly yes.
In previous class, we talked about ego, the
Mm-hmm,
perception of how others may see us, and
mm-hmm,
how comfortable we are about the way they might perceive us to be.
yeah, yep. Kim, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes. For me, having experienced years of wishing to be invisible and actually praying to be invisible, it was because I didn't want the attention.
Mm-hmm,
It thought that with extra attention came, um, it was like a fear of hurt, I guess. But I didn't want the attention. So will yeah, minimize myself and situations just to not be seen and get the attention. Yeah, that was my reason.
okay.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of times it's self esteem.
Mm,
So a lot of times we don't see ourselves as good as competent as. So we tend to sit in the back to observe instead of stepping forward and not knowing our worth and not knowing that our opinion matters and our voice matters.
mm-hmm. Anyone else? In terms of why do we shrink from the very space we were born to fill? Yes, I seen Kim, you have your hand raised again.
Yes, and another thing, another thing that now as I'm an adult and you're learning differently, that has me this make me wonder like why is that I was taught in my situation, what I was taught by the elders and some around, you shouldn't show off. And when you do certain things or behave certain way, you're showing off. I should rub certain things in person's face, says by just being yourself.
Yeah.
That's like rubbing it in their face because somebody might be sad or feeling down, and then you being bubbly and happy around them is not being considerate of the fact that they are sad.
Mm,
And that was another reason for me, making myself small
yeah.
in not shining as bright and not sharing the light and the positivity that I was experiencing and the happy moments. Yeah, that was another reason too.
Okay. Anyone else?
For me, it was a question, a strange thing of almost separating yourself in two. Because in terms of the professional space in which I operated, I did not shrink there at all. And I would welcome, the funny thing about it is, I would welcome the acknowledgement of me being able to do a good job. But even in there, I would set a limit. It was a free kind of arrangement. I would set a limit. So I wanted, I like the acknowledgement that you recognize that I did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But if you went too far, you overpraising you, then I would start to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And in the personal space, you wanted the you wanted to be seen, you wanted the attention, but yet
Not too
I
much.
do not know. I have no idea. It made no sense because the very you want the attention, but I would you all have heard my story about how I can work in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would not even try. I would I would just say that is too good for me. That is not good for me. So there was this kind of split where in the public space, the professional, the career space, I can go at it. I would actually tell people if there's a photograph to be taken and you are 5 feet and under, make sure you are in the front. When I went to different places, I would stand where I will be seen. I said, do not shrink in the back. But in the same breath, if someone started to say, "Oh, you did such a wonderful job," and da 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 da, to me, you had like 50 seconds on that. If you continue talking like that, so it was a strange kind of pulling and tugging within until we're still working on the personal, but it is much better than what it was before. Now, if you compliment me, I tell you thank you.
Yeah.
And in the past, if you said you're very beautiful, I'd say, well, I can accept attractive, but not beautiful. And I would start to shave back anything that's coming in that direction while wanting to be visible in that space. So it is not easy to live as two people in
Um,
one space.
but do you all
So I'm
think,
hoping that.
yes, do you all think it is based on how you see yourself in the world?
Yes, most definitely.
I
It's
think
very
that's one area I
vision
had
of
to be
yourself.
comfortable.
Right, just now. It had three people turn the mic on. All right, so Lisa first. Lisa?
No, I said it's definitely have to do with how you see yourself. Because a lot of times we look at ourselves and try to, in our head, envision how other people look at us.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, like Action was saying, I'm not good enough, or I'm not good enough for this person, I'm not good enough for this job. So it's all about us because I know for myself, people would say things like me, like you're a leader, you did, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You can't see that those qualities in yourself, but other people can see it. Other times it's like we're in our head, and once again, it's the self-esteem, the morale,
Yeah.
and how we envision ourselves or our perception of ourselves that
Mm-hmm.
really allow us to shrink to the back.
Yeah. SGL, I'm calling you all in sequence. I know you had your mic
Yeah,
open. Uh-huh.
yes, thank you. So this is an area I struggled, and maybe I'm still struggling. As simple as accepting compliment, like Catherine was saying. Even now, I'm very self-conscious when people pays me a compliment, and I have to be intentional about accepting it because my tendency is to say, "Oh, Now I'm learning to say thank you. And if I need to share it with others, I can do that. But I'm learning to say thank you and acknowledging it and receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to admit, though, that sometimes, and hopefully, I don't know if the intention is to address that. Maybe Nicola might address it. Sometimes there's trauma that is built into these learned behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So, self esteem that we talk about, this not accepting, a lot of time it's rooted in some kind of trauma we experienced as a child, or maybe the family dynamic, the way it was. For me, as a younger child, I know I was fine. I was free of any criticism until a particular experience happened, right? And even now, as an adult, it has left some residue. It's not that traumatic. It's one me dancing, right? As a Haitian, if I don't know how to dance, that's a big thing because we're supposed to know how to dance.
Yes.
And obviously, there was some family dynamic in terms of what music we listen to and what have you. But I will tell you, the first time I experienced a degree of shame happened because an adult made a negative remark toward me as I was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I would say, that was probably the first negative experience that I remember that impacted me.
Yeah.
So again, as we talk about this, as we learn to uncover and remove the different layers, we should also make room to address those trauma, acknowledging them and releasing them. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. 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 Kim, I know that your hand was also raised.
Yes. Um, I could talk on this one night. I came from a bit of it, I guess, just like SGL is like childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I was going to say is, I attended a kindergarten where it was pumped into little girls, into us, that girls had to be seen and not heard. So, and honestly, I can't even remember being a loud child, but my older sister and my mother would remind me that, yeah, they would be like, yes, Kim, we would come and while walking to come get you, would hear the teacher telling you, Kim, you're being too loud, and girls had to be seen and not heard. And I honestly, I guess, can't remember. I could remember that being said, but not to me because I could. It soaked in. It actually did it did what it was meant to do because I can't remember myself being loud. And as an adult, my decibel level would not go over a certain, yeah. So it
Mm-hmm.
really worked. And the being seen part was wasn't a gift for me. Was not that I appreciated in my teens and adulthood because being seen always meant that you'd have the comments. As I said, I would hide. I used to, wish I was invisible because you, from the males, you will try to hide because you would always say that you're pretty and what, and the heckling that will go along with that. You're pretty and you're this. So you would try your best not to be seen because you didn't want the heckling and the extra detail that will go along with it. You're so pretty and then whatnot. So or anything that will cause the attention to be upon me, that light to be upon me. So I would try to hide because of those things. And now you realize, when you sit, I spend a lot of time sitting and sometimes, thinking back and like putting pieces together, doing the introspection. And you realize that it was because of those little things, so you were told girls had to be seen and not heard. And then you resented being seen because of what the tail end of it, my experience. And yeah, so I spent my life hiding. And I wish I could say it's hiding because, well, I don't wish, but hiding because just because you don't want to, they want the attention. So that was me and childhood trauma, I guess.
Okay. Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised, and there is one more person whose hand was raised. So I will ask them after.
Yes, I think in my secondary school life, I think the nuns, wherever they are in heaven or wherever they are in the universe, they still are traumatized. I was loud. I was loud and energetic. I would run through the corridors. Netball was my favorite because it was affordable. And anything to do with movement. And, but some of it though, as I got into my early 20s, was transformed from that exuberance and just that outpouring. So more calculating and a little bit more aggressive in terms of when I would be loud. And then I learned to dial it back, because sometimes when you're that loud, you do not really get your point across because you are speaking now in the height of passion. And so if you dial back the passion, just focus laser like on what you want to say, I would get it said. But still in the personal space, I did not have that. There was no desire to be invisible. That's the first thing. There was no desire to be invisible. Yet there was a sense as though, how come I'm not being seen? But when you sit down and you work it through, you realize that you are not putting in the effort. You are not even trying. You are seeing, identifying, wishing, analyzing, and dismissing. Why? I would be years before I would really have to look at it and look at it closely and to identify that it it really had to do with fear of rejection, fear that somebody would not want you, because where work is concerned, I was competent and I understood my work and I was ahead in terms of how I would research and stay ahead of my field. So, in that sense, I would say, okay, fine. This is a question of they will acknowledge, because it is there. Knowledge is knowledge, and I was one of those who very big on knowledge. But in the personal space, there was this fear of being told no, this fear of being not good enough. And when I look back, I saw that I had tracked that pattern straight through, because I never entertained anything that I didn't have control over.
Right.
I didn't go in singing competitions, even though I wanted to enter the choir. I wanted to go in a beauty show, but I did not do that. I didn't do anything that required somebody to say, you were not the best that there was. So my athletics was, if I run, this is the race, the gun goes off, I get there first. You can't tell me I'm not first unless I put forth. So that kind of pattern in, as Mr. S talked about the childhood traumas, where, and it was only a few years ago when I got to the source of really what it was. And it was deep and early in the childhood, very deep and very early. And it seeped in, like Lisa said, without even recognizing how it seeped in, and like it sewed itself into every little strand of personality. So you were telling yourself that you are your being as well. You're telling yourself that you're with it. You're the bee's knees. But inside, where it really, really mattered, that little that stab in childhood, as Mr. S said, that stab, it went deep and it stayed. And when that happens, you really have to work to find it. And if you're never fortunate enough to get a little clue that this is what happens, then you will want to hide. You will want to hide. And I hid for years in the personal space. And of course, if you're making the same mistake over and over, you're doing the same thing over and over, then you will get the same results. So the results now became as self-fulfilling prophecies as to why relationships will not work. And then eventually I just said, you know what? I done with this. I done with this. I remember saying, I don't have another piece of me to break. If I break another piece of my heart, I will not survive. And I said, you know what? Let the career, let's go. I'll be great, this, that, that, that. And when that started to get shaky, then the real crisis occurred because I would work with the philosophy. The personal, if the personal is not great, the professional has to be great. Two things can't be the poor at the same time. So when things started to go shaky on the professional front, then you started to really see skin breakouts, other things. But I have learned that you can't be three people at the first thing.
Yeah.
You have to be one and at peace with the one. So pull all the little pieces back together. The world is not trying to kill you. Come out of hiding. You want something, you have to. If this is what you say you want, you cannot be what if people say who play mass, playing mass and afraid powder. You have to get out there. So even though sometimes it's a little bit frightening to put yourself out there again, I have learned that this is where you have to go. Otherwise, you might as well just quit. Give up on that. And I am not quitting.
Yes. There is someone named Guest. I am not sure what your name is, but are you there? You had your hand raised as well.
Good night, all.
Good evening.
Yeah, in my instance, my being unaware of what I'm about to confront, I would step back.
Okay.
I would go to the back until I get the understanding or have an idea of what I am getting into or what I am about to confront. Then, otherwise, I would go to the back.
Okay. Anastasia?
Yes, I want to take this discussion in a different direction
Mm-hmm.
because even though there might be people that appear as though they are shrinking, sometimes it's not that the person shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's that you're in a crowd, you read the room, you realize what it is happening, and you realize that, yeah, what? This is not what I should say. This is not a space where it called for me to speak. This is a place that calls for me to listen and not speak. And if I choose to be in this space and not speak and just listen, it does. To me, I don't see it as me shrinking myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, if I have lots of people out here that you will see walking around and saying, no, this person quiet, this person don't talk, oh, this or this and all this or that, and listen to me, if you get them in a space where they're comfortable, you will just be surprised what could come out of them. So is it that because you would not show up yourself in a space where you're uncomfortable, that means that you're shrinking yourself? Or is it that you just choose that, okay, you choosing where you will shine? Let us just say that. You choosing where you will shine and where you will just dim your light and relax yourself and take in everything. Does that mean?
It is the
And
same
I
thing
am
as
wondering if these things have to do with a personality type as well. It have different personality types.
it is the same thing as
So
hiding. Because in listening to everyone's insight, you would recognize that everybody is trying to fit in with what is common. Nobody wants to shine. Everybody is trying to fit in. I don't want this to make this one uncomfortable. I don't want to be too loud. I don't want to be too bright. I don't want to shine. I want to fit in to seem as though I am unknowingly, not knowingly, unknowingly, you're really trying to fit in with the crowd when you really look at it from each different angle. You do not want to disrupt, you don't want your light to disrupt other people's, well, I wouldn't say darkness, but others people inability to be as bright as you. When you listen to all the different aspects, everybody's insight, everybody wants to just dim a little bit so that I do not affect anybody else. I don't want to affect anybody else. But if you, as an individual, and then even in a lot of instances, you're recognizing that we are trying to shrink also because of comparison, because you don't see yourself a lot of times. You compare yourself to others, your co-workers, your family, your siblings, your cousins, your neighbor. So that is another reason why. Yes, Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Okay, so then could I safely say that dimming your light have to do with what is your opinion or reason for not showing up? Okay? Because if I decide I want to chill, I don't really want to have nothing much to say. And it's not because of the people or I feel they're better than me or I less than them, it's just because I want to chill. So then could it be that they may have something saying that your dominion light is because you are your own personal opinion about yourself?
Is your perception of you, yes. And usually it is your perception of you based on external influence, not based on internal who you truly are.
Because I
Because
don't really feel that every situation calls for you to show up yourself. I find
you're not
that
showing up
situations
yourself.
where
Remember, you being
you
you.
could chill out, yeah.
You being you. So you don't even have to show up yourself. You could go anywhere, be yourself, and it is what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
there are certain instances where you may not want to do this, you may not want to put on that, because I have also been in those situations many a times. I've had instances where going out with friends and I went to pick up a friend, the friend saw what I had on and went and changed the clothes. And it have so many different little comments that people would make. And because of it, I would also try to dim. And it is especially because of the comment. And in a lot of instances, remember, you just being yourself, going about your day, and people would just keep coming. And they would always make comments like, why you always like those things? Do you always like the most expensive things? And even in terms of how I would dress at work, I even had a coworker tell me once that if I could choose some clothes for her to wear to work, and I asked her, I said, but how would I know what you like? And then she said, choose anything, now choose anything. And it is the same instance in terms of you're not really focused on them, but the mere fact that you would want to limit yourself to an extent means that you are shrinking yourself in their presence. And it is the same hiding. I'm not sure who was first. Lisa, are you there? I seen you have two hands raised.
There was someone else before me, I think.
Okay.
But for Anastasia, I think if you are being your true self and being honest with yourself and moving from responding to situations based on your soul, not on your mind. So if a situation arises and you within you it feels like okay you should be quiet, then your light is shining because you're responding to what your soul requires you to do in that moment.
Yes.
So it's not about you not your light or you dimming your light. As long as you standing firm in your truth, then your light would be shining because you don't know why you have to do or why you're told to do what you are doing to help the other person or to help yourself. So you would, it's not about dimming your light, it's about standing in your truth. And I think for most of us, like when Adana asked the question, when lack of confidence or standing in the back because you don't feel you're good enough or whatever, that is when you respond like that, then you're dimming your light because you're not standing in your truth. You're not being 100%. You're not allowing your soul to direct. Your mind is directing or your emotions is taking control. But as we learn, as long as it's okay with your soul, if you're supposed to speak up and you speak up, your light is shining. If you're supposed to be quiet and sit in a corner and that's what's directed by you, your light is shining. As long as you're responding from truth, from love, from your soul, your light is shining.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on how you're responding to situation. Are you responding off your ego? Are you responding off your mind? Or are you responding off of your soul? That's the
Mm-hmm.
big difference.
Mm-hmm. And it is also based on being prepared. So being prepared is really a choice. But if you're functioning on feeling, it means that you have given up being prepared just for convenience in the moment. So if you know you have to go to the airport, will you go to the airport in a bathing suit? You won't go to the airport in a bathing suit because even in presenting yourself on a daily basis, remember you are always presenting the best version of you, despite what anyone might think. And then you realize it is a lot of the shrink, and it is because of external validation. It is because of what others would think. But what is your soul saying in the moment? A lot of times, you just bypass it and you're thinking about again everything that has happened in the past, what this person have said, what that person have said, the past experiences. But if you get up this morning, clean slate, clear your mind, what is the next step? And your soul says the next step is this. And you say, no, 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 no. That is too good for me right now. And we do that so many times. We do it so often. Even when you're presented with the best, even with Catherine, and she said you got a compliment, you would take the compliment only so far. Even SGL was expressing the same thing. And you see, the thing is, again, and it is also because you do not see yourself as you truly are from within, but a lot of times others see it. And when they make mention of it, you, because your perception of yourself is not that. And even in that moment, you realize what your perception of yourself is. After others give you a compliment and you realize you're really beating up on yourself. And even for last week, I know that's why we spoke so in depth about guilt. Well, for those who were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because in life and living and in truth and in fullness, there is no guilt. Everything is. What is, is. If you are supposed to show up looking like the president, then you show up looking like the president. You don't have to dim, you don't have to shrink. And this is a thought that I had a while back. When you look at these celebrities, you look at Oprah, you look at all of the big celebrities that have all over the world. If Oprah has to go and collect an award, Oprah probably have 1,000 awards. Oprah going to tell them no? She going to shrink and say, well, no, 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 I have enough. Or is she going to show up as her best self to accept a 15,000 award? She is going to show up to collect her 15,000 award. And the thing is, once you start to shrink, remember in shrinking, you're limiting yourself and you're telling the universe, I do not want. I do not want. And then you said, I do not want in August, and you are feeling the effects of I do not want straight till the end of the year. Because essentially, that is what you are saying to everything I do not want. So when you get the results of I do not want, then, and sometimes you don't even understand the how delicate life is in certain instances, because while you might say no for something now, it affecting so many other things down the road that you're totally unaware of. And all of this is part of shrinking. You are saying essentially to everything, I do not want this. And you will get exactly that, which is nothing. Catherine, I know that you had your hand raised.
I was I was gonna say the same thing along the line as Lisa, and also to to indicate that it takes energy for you to shrink yourself.
Mhm.
It takes energy for you to put yourself lower than where you know you are, to make someone happy. And that is where we get into things like compromise and settling, and you're getting migraines because inside you're eating away yourself. You trying to, so the whole business of, even when you were talking, Anastasia, about reading the room. Yes, you read the room, but are you reading the room based on how you think they would feel about what you have to say? Excuse me. Or are you reading the room based on you? Excuse me.
Yeah. And again, you realize that the shrinking is really based on the absorption of a lot of external influence. It really based on external, because if you think of the best car makers in the world, the best um, makers of certain clothes, the best restaurants, do they shrink themselves to present themselves to the world, or do they always put out their best, biggest, shiniest, loudest, most colorful, whatever it is? Or do they dim their light? What do they do? When you look at all the,
Always their best.
always their best, always. All the cars, all the clothes, all the restaurants, all the shoes, the handbags for the ladies. I know right now everybody like the Birkins. The Birkins are ridiculous, a ridiculous amount of money. And when you look at the Birkins, it's always the best, and the Croc and the Python and all the different things, and it is always the best version of themselves that they are presenting for all to see. But then when you think of you as an individual, you don't even see yourself as that. And it is really based on your perception of you. But if you don't spend time with yourself to really see your beauty, and remember again, your uniqueness always has your purpose. Sometimes you think that I this weird, and people will think I weird, and no, whatever you're going to provide is something somebody's secretly seeking for. Somebody's secretly yearning for this answer, and then you holding on to it, and you don't want to let yourself shine because of how others would view you. But at the same instance, you don't even know that people waiting on the solution, and you have it holding it to your chest, and you don't want to present it to the world because you rather shrink yourself than shine. And then you're realizing and shrinking is really a placing limits, limits. Everywhere you turn, you're placing limits on yourself. Everywhere that you turn, you're placing limits on yourself. Because if you look at Michael Jordan, had he not decided, people saying all kind of things. I also know from looking at the documentaries that companies who didn't want to work with him. This man has the most selling sneaker year after year after year, without a shadow of a doubt. There were times when I was in New York and it had the sneakers, whatever is the new Jordan for the season, for the year that is being released. And people have it on just to walk by the corner, and stand up. And if this man had not decided that, well, I don't want to play basketball because of what someone else think, or if whoever, or Disney, for all of us who enjoy the Disney movies, if he had decided that I will not be doing this because of what somebody else think, or even KFC, the colonel who started KFC, I think he was in his 60s. I am too old to start this. Then look at where KFC is right now. And even in Trinidad, we have one of the highest selling KFCs in the world. And all of these people decided, I am not going to shrink myself to satisfy anybody else. I am going to do what is best for me and become the best version of myself that I can become. And it is in the simple things that we discuss here on a weekly basis that will get you to that point. In terms of waking up, asking yourself what is the next step, getting a routine, and the thoughts that are on your mind, you're spending more time with the thoughts instead of sitting down and scrolling. And remember, everything is already there for you, but if you're not here to receive it, everything just, the opportunities just keep going ahead. Because remember, life is not pausing. Life is going to continue to pass you by if you are not in the present moment. Once you're not in the present moment, life is going to continue to pass you by. Once you do not take the time to pause and really see what is required for you, see what is your map telling you, spend some time with your soul. When was the last time you got up in the morning and you ask yourself, self, what is required for me today? I know that is something we would speak of usually months ago, but when was the last time you got up and you asked yourself that? When was the last time you put a recurring thought into action? Or you had the thought last year, the thought come back again this year. No, I will do it next month. And then the opportunities, they just keep going, 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 going. And then sometimes you feel stuck. And when you feel stuck, it is very difficult to get you out of that space, because sometimes you might be feeling stuck because of one thing, but then once you're in that moment and you start to revisit all the other things, previous things that you didn't achieve, the goals that you were not able to complete, now you put yourself in an even deeper hole. And then how you're going to get out of that when you really look at it? And again, everything starts and everything also ends with you. Because the minute you decide, I do not want to experience this anymore, for those of us who have been in situations when we have decided, I do not want to experience this anymore. You drop everything immediately, or when it's always when you're back against the wall. It's always when you're back against the wall. Or if it is life and death, or if it is something affecting your child or your children, in the instant, in the moment, immediately, you will do whatever is required. But why does it always have to come to that situation for you to choose you, or for you to do what is required? Or why does it always have to come to when you end up by the doctor and you get some news that you really didn't want to get, for you to now decide, okay, I'm going to take it serious now? Why you don't just put these steps in place every single day? These small steps every single day. Yes, Katrin, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
But one of the things, Adana, is that for so long we were taught that focusing on yourself is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Even to praise yourself, they would tell you self praise is no praise.
Mm-hmm.
So you were not raised, even with the most well meaning of parents. There is a generation that did not know how to love themselves. And the generation immediately after that received that kind of inability.
Mm-hmm.
And if they picked it up, it was always at the risk of being odd, being odd. Kim talked about being quiet, ladies having to be quiet. And my twin sister and I were seen as odd in the secondary school we went to because we talked too loudly. We walked too hard. We ran in the corridor. We just had too much for the pronouns. And they would have real problems, and they would pass their problems on to us. I mean, it didn't dim the issue, but you were not taught to put yourself first. You were taught, as you know, to put yourself last.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you ran into a million strangers, on the way, those million strangers had to line up before you. And so, for me, having to come out of that meant first recognizing that I had an issue, and then go and pay some money by a therapist and get some information from the therapist because they cannot tell anybody your business. Unlike family and friends who like to talk and give you their opinion. Then also, it was a question of just love yourself.
Yeah.
And me appreciating myself really started way in maybe the last 5 years. Before that, there was things that I wouldn't wear. I wouldn't because this and because that and my stomach and this and people who would look at me and say, "What stomach you talking about? Where are these flaws you're referring to?" And I started to say, you know what? I putting it on his mind,
Yeah.
and then people would ask you why you're wearing expensive things. People would ask me why you always dressing up. I said, leave it for who? One person would say, where you going that you dress up? So I said, I'm coming right here. I just left the house. If I don't make it tomorrow, who is going to be wearing my things? It was I have one gold ring with some diamonds in it and emeralds. And I used to leave it in a drawer. When they broke into my house, then is when I studying. Hey, I wonder if they took the ring. So now I put it on my hand. I
Mm-hmm.
say, wear what you want to attract. You want gold, you want diamonds and silver? Put it on your body and walk with it. Do not wait, do not leave anything. Love upon yourself.
Yeah.
Love upon yourself. And to me, once you get into that frame of mind, the natural things that you would do that would cause you to shrink yourself, they would start to disappear.
Yes.
They would fall away. Because now you're coming with it's like a new person. You're finally seeing, like you probably look down and you saw a reflection of a beautiful swan.
Mm-hmm.
You're finally seeing that there is all the other things that you had put on top of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Or you put them there. People shot the shot, but you let it land and you kept holding it
Yeah.
and hid yourself. Now it's time to just be. Just be.
Yep.
Because you don't know when it's tomorrow. If tomorrow doesn't come, what? People will still come to your funeral, eat the food that they provide enough of your money and talk about you. Now look how she gone. So you might as well just be you, love you, and be you.
Yeah.
Just
And
be.
also know what you want because a lot of times life is trying to deliver to you what you want. And if you're unsure, you will not get it. Even as Katrin said, love upon yourself, know what you want. Because even recently, I really wanted this product. for my hair, not seeing it nowhere in Trinidad. Um, I say, okay, I see it on Walmart. I say, oh gosh, I'll go in and order this water, go in and charge my pound and a crown to clear it. So a day I was going to the ATM and he thought came walking by Super Farm. I was like, walking by Super Farm? Oh, why walking? You know, you just resist in the shop. Why walking in my Super Farm for? Born in my Super Farm. And what is looking at me? The same hair product that I have been looking at and wanting. And Super Farm, I don't know what was in the water. Super Farm had this for $120 and everywhere else had it closer to $200. God bless Super Farm. I do not know what happened to them in that moment because usually Super Farm has everything more expensive for those of us in Trinidad who know. And there was two more on the shelf, so I grab it up. And I was talking to a friend on the phone and she wanted one. I said, okay, I would share with you. I would share with you. So I gave her one and I kept the other one. But knowing what you want in the moment is also important. It cannot show up if you are unsure, if you're unclear, and if you're fearful and full of doubt. It cannot show up. And when the thought comes again, sometimes follow the thought. I know it is something that you don't practice, but practice it. And then see where it leads. Sometimes at the end of that thought, is the solution that you have been asking for. But if you don't put the thoughts into action, then how would you really navigate? How would you achieve? How would you experience? How would you enjoy? If you just decide, well, this is what it is, I stand right here, I am shrunk, I do not want to shine, then you would certainly live a very, very, very miserable life. Yes, Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes, this week I got a aha moment
Mm-hmm.
where I was in me, I hear the voice saying, you know what, you have to learn to own yourself, not just love yourself, but own yourself. Every part of you. The part of you that you tell yourself need improvement, own that. The
Mm-hmm.
part of you that improve, the new one improve, own that. All of you just own it. You know that the part that have to improve, it you're working towards it. You're getting there. You know what I mean? And you don't wait until well, you know what you get there, then you own just what you want to see. What you don't want to see, own that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of it is you.
Yes. And all of it is life. And life is about acceptance, which is exactly what Anastasia was just explaining. Because if you don't start from that point, you would always be in want. And you would always be, well, I hope, or you would always be in limits again, you know? And even for Anastasia, as I told her already, when she came once and then she came to us the second time, and the improvements you really tend to see the improvements somebody made. You don't just experience it through conversation, but you also see it in them. And certainly Anastasia was one of those persons. Now I am not saying that when I saw her the first time she was looking any particular way. She was not. But when I saw her the second time, it's as though a light switch had gone on, and I was like, Anastasia, you are looking so radiant. And you really, really see it in the person, and you see it when they really put the tools into practice. Because what would shine is the fact that you are recognizing that there really is a different way to live. And even how you were experiencing life before, you don't have to necessarily go that route anymore. There is a different way to live. So all the stress you're probably experiencing and the pain and the hurt and the drama, it is unnecessary. And that is essentially why befitment is here. But also in befitment, you really have to find your fit because you are an individual, even as we're discussing tonight in terms of shrinking yourself. And yes, we do it because of commonality, but yet we are individuals. And your uniqueness has your purpose. You may not see it as that, but it has your purpose. Because even for when you look at Venus and Serena, they were always interested in tennis, and because of it, their parents nurtured them in that route. And that was what was unique about them. They had liked to play tennis. And when you look at yourself, what did you enjoy doing as a child? You don't have to answer, but it is just something to think about. What did you enjoy doing as a child? Why are you not doing more of it now? Everybody has a unique ability as a young child. And a lot of times when we tell ourselves, well, I grow out of that because I am an adult now. But sometimes when you really immerse yourself in that unique experience, you would recognize, okay, I am reconnecting to some parts of myself that I really needed to reconnect with. And then always, always within those experiences is where you would find the solutions tend to flow. The solutions are not flowing when you are in traffic and stress. The solutions not flowing when you're behind your desk and you want to tell your boss a lot of things that you should not. See? The solutions do not come when you're thinking about all the things that you need to do and you have not done it as yet. The solutions don't really come in that moment. Because negativity attracts more negativity. So if you're not in the space to find yourself in neutrality, you would always experience a lot of difficulty. You would always find that I need to limit and I need to shrink in order to fit within what everybody else is doing. But then, if everybody is a doctor, who would be the lawyer? Who would be the chef? Who would be the dentist? If everybody wants to be the same, you really have to focus on your uniqueness and allow your uniqueness to flourish and do not shrink your unique abilities because of what you think other people would say or how they would perceive you in the world. Because for all the greats who are currently living the best versions of themselves, they did not shrink to fit into anyone's perception of them. They looked within, found out what was required for them, and they made the step. And that is also what is required for you. And for those who are willing to make this step, again, of course, Befitment is here to assist. And I would also like to let you know, because again, these sessions do not start and end on a Monday. These sessions go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And for this upcoming week, while we are starting with playing small, if you have been seen tonight, tomorrow we would be discussing the cost of playing small because again, yes, we make some choices, but we do not know how the choices are affecting us in the long run and the intricacies of making a choice. So tomorrow we will be discussing how to recognize how self-sabotage and shrinking show up. And again, you don't realize how it's affecting other things. And after that, of course, we have the fuel and flex full body workouts. And on Wednesday, we have counseling and consultations. And then from 6, we would be discussing boundaries, critics, and courage. So for all of those who had the external feedback from a lot of individuals in their past and who experienced the trauma of that, we would be discussing strategies for handling feedback and, of course, backlash. Because in a lot of instances, when you're really trying to progress because of the attachments you have formed, especially with other persons, they tend to always want you to stay one particular way to suit them. And remember, life is about progress and life is about change. So that is not what is best. So on Wednesday, we would be discussing the strategies for handling feedback and backlash. On Thursday, from 6, we will be creating a visibility blueprint. So how you anchor your worth in your daily life and work, because of course there is personal and then there is professional. So again, on Thursday, we would be creating a visibility blueprint, how you anchor your words in your daily life and work. And of course, after that, we have the fuel and flex full body workout. On Friday, we have counseling and consultations. And from 5 p.m., we have free to be, where you celebrate, relax, restore, and unwind. Of course, by appointments only. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to us. And on Saturday, we have counseling and consultations from 10 a.m., both youth and adult. And from 3, we are closed. For persons who are interested in joining outside of the US, please contact us via this contact number here, 868-336-1809. And of course, premium membership is $96 a month. And it does include the sessions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as well as the fuel and flex full body workout sessions. So we will certainly be diving deeper into this topic throughout this week. And as I always tell you all, make sure you walk with your pen and paper and your thoughts if you need any clarity. So you might be on work and a thought come, write it down and come with your questions. So you're sure at the end of the week, you are prepared more than you could even understand to face the world and to achieve. And remember, I don't know, for those of you who join this session, they would know different. But for those of you who don't, you would realize that week after week, we are building upon the previous week. So we started with discipline. And well, we didn't start with discipline. That is as far as I could remember right now. After discipline last week, we dealt with guilt. And then this week, we are moving into the cost of playing small and in terms of shrinking, because once you start to become more disciplined, you would recognize that things are going to start to change and there are persons who would want you to be the same. And because of that, that is why we would be diving into the cost of playing small, because it costing you, because essentially it costing you to stay stuck. Once you continue to play small, you're staying stuck. And it costed you a lot more than you know. And then we would also help you in terms of setting boundaries, critics, and the courage, because you really need courage in a lot of instances when you're trying to move on and better yourself. I also know this is something Anastasia discussed a lot when she had just started, the courage to have certain conversations. And I know that she is a lot more improved now. She don't need as much courage anymore. She would let you know, okay, this is what is happening. And then on Thursday, you would also be able to create your visibility blueprint. So you would know what is required to anchor your words in your daily life and work, because it's not just limited to personal, it is also professional. So if it is something that anyone is interested in, please reach out and let us know. Also, all right, let me share. For those of you who would like the opportunity to experience the 7-day pass, you can. All right, so we are all in the app. So you're moving from mood to dashboard to flow zone. And where you would see this claim your 7-day pass, you are scrolling down and you are clicking on the plus sign to activate your journey. So for those of you who would like to know more about what it is about before you fully commit, feel free to join. You must activate your journey first before you are allowed to enter the class, because you wouldn't even see the classes showing up on your app. So you really have to tap the plus sign first to start your journey. So if it is something that you are interested in and you want to see what the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sessions are about, feel free to tap on the plus sign to activate your journey. Or of course, you can message us at 868-336-1809 to access your 7-day pass. And for this month, as it relates to the fuel and flex, which is the fitness aspect of the fitment, the August challenge is 100,000 steps. So even if you are not registered, you could still make your 100,000 steps. If you are registered, please ensure that you are sending us proof of your steps. You could send us your watch, because I know a lot of people, their watch is built into everything. So you could earn extra points by attending fitness sessions and events. The full body workout sessions are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. at the Balance Center. Feel free to enter, and you could download the app via the App Store or Google Play. And of course, this is our Be Active schedule, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And of course, it is $96 a month membership, and you also get the sessions on an evening from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And on Fridays, guys, turn on your notifications, because we would be having a weekly live with Philo, and the stream, we would let you all know 30 minutes in advance. The stream would be happening anywhere, anytime, and it could be at a location near you. So turn on your notifications on Facebook and Instagram to know when the stream would be starting, so that you can join. So yes, guys. I hope that tonight's discussion was some food for thought. And I also hope to see some of you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or you could also WhatsApp the Fitment's number 7 days, just the letter, the number 7 and the word days. And we would register you for the 7 days, so you would have access to it. All right. And for, of course, tonight's Genius Goals question, after all that was said, especially tonight. All right. So for tonight's question, I would post it on social media, because the question would be a little different and a little bit more in depth. So you would see it on social media by 9 p.m. So guys, you could look out for it. And also, of course, it would be uploaded in the app, because this question would be a little bit different. So you all will see it at 9 p.m. And do you all have any more questions before we end tonight's session? All right. Do not forget, you can register for your 7-day pass, so you would get a greater insight as to what the evenings are. Walk with your questions, walk with your pen and paper, so that you could get your solutions. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. Have a great week. And as you approach this week, do not shrink yourself. Spend some time getting to know you and show up as you, not as what you think other people should see you as. All right? So have a great night, everyone. Good
Hey,
night.
thank you.
Good
Good night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.